there's a lot of well-intentioned policies that still have the general theme of protecting older interests and keeping young people out. And we all know, young people don't vote, you hear that they don't care about politics, but unfortunately, even if young people ignore the political process, politicians don't ignore them. And they constantly pass new bills, do things like increase pensions for government workers, spend more money on Social Security and Medicare, and push other regulations that put immediate benefits on some politically powerful interests, but then say, you know what, we're just gonna punt the cost down to people who either can't vote yet, aren't politically engaged, or aren't even born. And these are major changes that are going to have to come for millennials once they come to age, when they start paying taxes. If we wanted to write the federal deficit right now, I'm just talking about the 18 trillion, on the books debt, we would need to increase all federal taxes by 57% or cut all government services by 37%, excluding the interest we're paying on our ballooning debt. That means young people are either going to be getting less services for the same price, or they're going to be paying a lot more to try to bring these unfunded promises to reality for themselves. And one thing we do see is really positive in this, though, is young people's attitudes are changing. The last 6 years have kind of left a bitter taste in some young people's mouths. We all know that they went enthusiastically for the hope and change promised by President Obama. But now, 2/3 of millennials see government spending as inefficient and wasteful. That's up from 4 in 10 when President Obama took office. And if we look at regulation, only 16% think that regulations benefit the public. What I see on this is they're kind of, they see the ride sharing, things like Airbnb, and they see that regulations are really just protecting established businesses. And they see no reason why they shouldn't be able to take an Uber, or if they want to start renting out their apartment to make some money on the weekends, why they shouldn't be allowed to do that when they're not hurting anyone else. So that's why we put a specific chapter on occupational licensing, because this isn't just taxi drivers. This isn't just hotels. It's all across the economy. We're seeing concentrated interests getting together and keeping out new competition. Back in the 1950s, only 1 in 20 American workers needed to get a government permission slip to start working. And keep in mind, you have to do a lot of government-required training and pay fees to do this. Now, that's 1 in 3. So this has expanded drastically. People talk about unions or minimum wage or any of these other labor market regulations. We've seen nothing that's exploded as much as occupational licensing. And now moving on to the way to get out of this problem, though, it's not going to be through doing more government programs. Rather, what we need to do is pare back the regulatory state that's really holding back America's economy. The numbers are daunting on what we would need to do to write the federal budget. If we take into account Social Security and Medicare, all the unfunded promises we've made means that America is now $200 trillion in debt. I mean, that's unfathomable. I can't picture what $200 trillion bills would look like. Maybe that's why one millennial we talked to, he told us, my generation's grown up with full acceptance of the national debt. We've never known anything else. So to get out of this, we need to grow the economy. And right now, the Code of Federal Regulations is 175,000 pages long. And this isn't just pages and pages of legal jargon. Instead, there's over 1 million terms in there, like must, or cannot, or shall, that put real burdens on businesses. And I don't know, I have a hard time remembering my phone, keys, and wallet when I leave the house. I don't know how I could possibly keep in, how am I gonna read 1 million regulations, much less remember all of them?